can you tell us your name and how the seasteading idea came about originally?
Seasteading or Ephemerisle?
Seasteading. We'll start there.
All right.
And then Ephemerisle. Sure.
My name is Patri Friedman. Seasteading idea came up when I was researching how to change politics, looking at different ways and different ideas that people had, and it just seemed like none of the ideas out there could work until I came across the idea of starting new countries. And there'd been various previous people, a lot of them utopian, who thought about making new countries on the ocean, had even tried, and in most cases this met with like just dismal, complete, and often hilarious failure. But I thought there was something to the idea, and so I started doing a lot of research and decided it was feasible, and eventually got funding and was able to start the Seasteading Institute.
Excellent. How did Ephemerisle start about?
Yeah, the idea for Ephemerisle actually came earlier, a little bit earlier.
It was before Seasteading?
Before Seasteading.
Okay.
I was thinking about new countries, you know, not convinced whether they should be on the ocean yet, and I went to my first Burning Man, and was just blown away by the amount of energy that people put into this, you know, amazing construction. But, you know, they build it just to tear it down. And I think it serves a really important purpose, but I wondered whether there's some way to grow a permanent community out of something like that. You know, historically, there were major towns that arose out of trade crossroads where they had trade fairs, and people just, more and more people came to the trade fairs, and they stayed longer and longer until they grew into permanent cities. And it seemed like it's so hard to start new countries that if there's any way to make it incremental, that would be incredibly valuable. So I thought, what if we had a floating festival that could grow and could move into tougher and tougher waters each year until it's actually in international waters, and people are actually operating under different legal systems, you know, for a week a year, like as their vacation. I mean, there's a sense in which Burning Man is that it's a temporary autonomous zone. The rules are different. Even though they're not legally different, the rules in practice are different. And I think it could be incredibly powerful for people to experience different ways of living, different ways of doing governance. Like not read about it, not be argued about it, but like live it. And I think that'd be really powerful in showing people that different ways can work and can be better, and could potentially grow into a seastead.
Excellent. What's the most difficult thing about organizing this event?
Well, I mean, luckily for me, I didn't organize it this year. I mean, the Seasteading Institute did it the first year, and we tried to do it the second year, and the main challenge was insurance. You know, the shorter what you're doing is, the weirder it is, the harder it is to get insurance, and anything connected to the ocean has very high risk and very high insurance rates. One reason is that there's federal laws in the US that say that workers' comp claims on the ocean for any maritime workers are like uncapped. Like in most places, worker comp claims have some statutory cap by state law or whatever. But there's federal law that says if you get hurt on the ocean, there's no limit to how much you can sue for. So naturally, that makes insurance more expensive. It's called the Jones Act, and so our insurance quotes second year were like $500 to $1,000 per participant, just to insure our volunteers and employees. And so we said, all right, we can't do it at the Seasteading Institute, and the community took over. So now there's no single point of liability. Each person is responsible for the houseboat that they sign out or ride on. Well, it's growing. I think the greatest challenge for Ephemerisle in the future, if it tries to go towards the vision that I talked about, the greatest challenge is dealing with the ocean. You know, we had trouble last year here when it was stormy in these shallow waters. You know, anchoring is still a challenge, and we're learning and getting better every year. But I don't feel like we're very close to being able to move this offshore, and that's going to be really hard.
If I wanted to start some sort of business or scientific research type lab out in the ocean right now, could I do it if it was the sort of thing that would normally be illegal in most countries?
You probably could. There's what's called flags of convenience. One of the great things about the ocean is that the legal structure that's already in place is actually, like really close to the principles that I advocate for. It's this flagging system where any structure that's fixed in place is just governed by the closest state, but things that are mobile, that are dynamic, have a different legal regime, because they could be on one side of the world one month and the other side of the world the other. And the legal regime is that they have to be registered with a country, they fly that country's flag, and they're then under that country's rules. Now, there are some international rules that apply to everyone: anti-pollution, anti-slavery, anti-pirate radio, but primarily under the governance of that country. And so it's actually this really flexible, competitive system where you have this sort of virtual association. Like, sure, you have to pick some country. You don't just get to go out there and like declare your independence. You have to plug in to the existing legal system through a recognized sovereign.
Okay.
But you can plug in through any sovereign anywhere in the world. And so it's actually a really competitive market where there are countries like Panama and Liberia who will just flag you for like a low, flat fee, and they just don't pay any attention to you. You know, it's basically, it's one version of the service that's been competed down. And of course they get the least respect, but it works. So you could get a boat and get a flag of convenience, and you know, the toughest thing is to figure out where you can anchor that, where you're not just going to get shaken around by the waves. Depends on what type of research you're doing. But I think that you could just take a boat and go do it, and probably not get bothered for a long time.
Okay. What about, how does this relate to W.G. Hill's 5 flags theory and PT stuff? Have you heard about that?
I only know a little bit about it. I mean, I feel like it's almost like trying to, I mean, I think that applies to this. You're going to want your, seasteads are not going to be able to offer citizenship for decades, passports. So you're gonna need your passport from another country. They're not gonna be stable enough. A lot of people talk about banking on seasteads. I think that in your bank you want security. You don't want a novel legal or economic system around your bank. You want, you know, Switzerland, or Hong Kong. So you're gonna bank someplace other than where you live. You know, I don't remember all the other flags, but basically this is providing a new option for the where you live.
Okay.
And I still think that the other flags apply.
Do you know anything about Sean Hastings' project from before with Sealand?
Haven Co. and
yeah,
Sealand?
Yeah.
I know Sean well.
Okay. Where does he live?
New York.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, Sealand is kind of the most successful micronation. There's issues where it's kind of grandfathered in. It's like 7 miles out, and international territorial waters used to be 3 miles, the distance that a cannon can fire, and now they're 12 miles. So it's kind of grandfathered in because it had some recognition of its autonomy before it was expanded, but you know, if they tried to expand Sealand dramatically, I think the UK would say, hey, that's our territorial waters that you're taking.
Okay.
And then Haven Co., Sealand was never able to monetize. After pirate radio, it was founded for pirate radio, that worked out well. Once the pirate radio era ended, they were never really able to find a way to make enough money from it to like just pay the maintenance expenses. Haven Co. was one attempt, and Haven Co. was competing with you know, any third world country with fiber, right? Like, you know, if there's something that you can't do in like Panama or Costa Rica or Indian reservations in Canada or any of those other places, then you're probably, if you do it on Sealand, someone's probably gonna like come try to stop you. And you know, if you are doing something that any of those places do, your infrastructure is way more expensive, your internet link is way worse, your power is less reliable. And you know, a lot of people found it be cool, but they couldn't really compete with, you know, what are the main large money markets for that kind of thing? Let's say it's like porn and online gambling. You know, you can do those things in many, many jurisdictions in the world, so there's no need to go to an expensive place like Haven Co. So I mean, I think that one of the greatest challenges facing seasteading is picking the business model. Finding a business model where like, yes, this is uniquely benefits from being on a seastead.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I had another question. Oh, if I wanted to be an intern, what types of people are you looking for right now? Or volunteer, that type of thing? Yeah,
I mean, our main volunteer program is our ambassadors. Go give seasteading talks and recruit people.
Okay.
Internships, any of our active policy areas, international law, ocean engineering, many different aspects from structural engineering to how do you make power, business, GIS, finding locations. Those are some of the major areas. But a lot of our best work has been done by volunteers partnering with us.
Okay, cool. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Tell me about this project.
Which, the video vlog project?
Yeah.
Well, I do video vlogs about the things that I do and the people that I meet. I've been doing it since I was 14. Helps me be creative and self-aware about what I'm doing, I guess. And right now I'm on a trip to try and meet people that I think are wise or novel, and events that are like that, and I think this is certainly one of them. I've been a fan of the Seasteading idea and the Institute for several years online. Read God Wants You Dead, Sean Hastings and Paul Rosenberg's book.
I have a shirt.
Yeah? A shirt from that?
From God Wants You Dead.
How do I get a shirt?
Do they still have shirts? They sell them anymore.
Yeah, all right.
Online at the beginning. It's Uncle Sam saying, "I want your money."
All right.
You know, like, I want you for the U.S. Army. No, I just want your money.
Yeah, I read that book when I was like 14 on BitTorrent. Nice. Blew my mind wide open. Awesome.
It's quite the red pill.
Yeah.
Why would you seastead?
Honestly, I would do it for the adventure. I would want to be. I want to be a civilization seed, the type of pioneer that could be worthy of trying to begin a new human civilization from scratch. I think that would be the coolest experience a human could have. How do you think seasteading compares to space colonization?
They're very similar in a lot of ways. The ocean is closer, it's more accessible, I think we can do it sooner. The ocean's expensive and difficult, but nothing compared to space. But I think expanding to the oceans is inevitable. I think expanding to space is inevitable. And you know, in my political theory, space actually has the quality that will give rise to better governance, that large things can be moved around in space really easily, like on the ocean.
Right.
But I think it's not just about being able to start new countries. That's one piece of it. But being able to have a bloodless revolution where a country breaks apart into constituent buildings and sections that then rearrange in a different way, that's the key to keeping the new countries from going the same route as the old countries. And that requires a physical medium in which large things can be moved around at a reasonable price. Land is not that medium. Water is. You know, there's 2 diesel engines in the back of this houseboat, moves these 30,000 pounds of infrastructure around pretty well. And space is even more like it. You know, in space you don't even need diesel engines. You know, you can get out and push and move any mass slowly, but any mass. So I think that space, you know, has this dynamic quality that will give rise to just endlessly evolving government in a way that we don't have on land, where everything is locked into a certain relation with each other.
Yeah, I guess people normally underestimate the cheapness of space, I guess. It's real expensive to get there, but then to move stuff, I guess it'd be a lot cheaper.
It's super cheap to move stuff.
What sort of ideas are you working on right now? Or what you've been thinking about lately?
Well, all right, so with Joe Quirk, we finished a Seasteading book manuscript for Simon & Schuster earlier this year. The main new idea I've been thinking about is something I call the International Harbor. It's an idea that came up writing the book for how to get kind of the engineering stability of shallow water and protected water and the legal regime of the ocean with this flagging system.
Okay.
The idea is that you find a shallow water in the EEZ of some country. You ask that country for permission to build a breakwater, a circular wall, almost complete wall surrounding an area, and you ask them to recognize that the waters inside are still part of the EEZ as they were before, that they're still sort of international waters, that enclosing it isn't giving it to the country, which is what international law already says, because otherwise everyone would just be out there building walls trying to steal oil from each other. You're just asking them to affirm this, not asking them for any kind of deal for sovereignty or anything. You then go and build this wall, and in this calm harbor inside, boats can come and anchor, you know, almost like Ephemerisle. You can have a giant raft up there. protected. And because you're in the EEZ, in this type of international waters, every ship is under the jurisdiction of its flag. So you can have different ships, 5 different ships next to each other, each under a different legal regime. You know, one governed by the Bahamas, Panama, Liberia, Norway, and they can move around, they can change order. And if for some reason you need to leave, maybe the country says, well, we don't have any like rights to kick you out, but we're going to kick you out anyway. Or, you know, we revoke your permit to build this wall. We're going to like break it down because we do have legal jurisdiction over, you know, who builds walls, you know, all the way out to the end of our EEZ. Well, you just go do it someplace else, and most of your cost and effort is in these mobile structures inside the breakwater. The cost of the breakwater is not that much, so you can always uproot and move if you need to.
So you think this idea is totally plausible? And
I think it's you know, kind of the initial engineering and legal checks have passed out. It looks plausible. It's not 100% for sure. But for a long time we've struggled with like the easiest way to build on the ocean is like on pillars. Find something shallow and then you put down pillars and loft yourself above, but that loses this whole dynamic nature that I'm talking about.
Right.
So how do you have the stability, the wave resistance, the safety of something like pillars while being able to rearrange? And the International Harbor is the first idea I found that really seemed to do both of those at the same time.
Where do you get it from? Did you come up with it somehow?
Yeah,
Was
just looking at all the different. I took all the different constraints that I saw for the engineering and legal needs, and I made them up as little cards, like a collectible card game, where I like put, you know, this provides an anchorage, this structure needs shallow water, like, and I just put them all together and kind of rearranged them. I was like, hey, there's a new way to arrange all of these rules and all these constraints. And the International Harbor popped out.
Awesome. I would love to see that. I'm sure that'd be a great way to make money too.
Definitely thought about it.
What was it like being fathered by David Friedman?
Well, I wasn't very conscious at the time, but it's good. My dad's, we were just talking downstairs this morning about Machinery of Freedom and Law's Order. Both of those books have influenced me a lot, just how I think about politics. I mean, each of them has totally shifted my thinking and put me in a place where I feel like I look at politics and rules and governance in a different way than 99% of the people out there, in a way which is just, you know, more accurate and gives better ideas for how to change things.
Do you have anything to say about psychedelics? I know that you might not want to touch that because a lot of people don't like that, but
I think a lot of people like to experiment with psychedelics, and if they do it safely and they do it in a way where they're not threatening to harm any other people, I think, like, I don't know, almost anything else that people want to do, they should do it.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else good you could say?
No, I think that pretty much takes care of it.
All right.
You should.
I just meant in general. Oh yeah, it's very dynamic.
Yeah, it is super dynamic. All right. Well, thanks for the interview.
Thanks.
I'm gonna.
Where do I get a shirt? Can I just buy one of those on the internet?
Ask Randy downstairs. We were selling them online. I don't know that we still are, but we have a lot of them. Like, okay. I don't know whether we have an active store, but we definitely have way too many of these shirts.
Can I get a picture with you?
Sure.
All right. I'll just hold the camera.
Oh, wait,
I think.
I have an idea.
All right.
Let's hold the camera, stand next to me.
Okay. I can't tell if we're backlit or not. Oh, we aren't.
And then,
okay.
Wait, what if we just like spin?
Spin?
Yeah.
All right.
So there's like an event panorama passing behind us. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
You get a picture too? Yeah. All right.